starved for entertainment, to do just that. "Here's a quote you must have missed," he commented, and coughed to clear his throat. "Alas, that love, so gentle in his view, should be so tyrannous and rough in proof." Shakespeare said that? Old William S. was a heap wiser than most folks give him credit for being. "Maybe so," Nate said. "But I have a hard time understanding him. It's a shame he couldn't have written in plain English." "Plain English?" Shakespeare repeated, his eyes sparkling with building mirth. "Where do you think he was from? Spain?" Nate sighed and touched the edge of his knife to the whetstone. He had been all through this discussion with his mentor before, and he wasn't about to let himself be drawn into another lengthy debate over McNair's literary passion. As he resumed sharpening the blade, he idly glanced to his right and felt the short hairs at the nape of his neck prickle. A pair of fiery eyes had left the ring of wolves and was moving toward the tethered mounts and pack animals. In a flash, Nate was on his feet and racing to a point between the advancing wolf and the horses. He slid the whetstone into his possibles bag, draped a hand on one of the flintlocks wedged under his wide brown leather belt, and faced the oncoming predator. "Go away!" he shouted, motioning with his knife hand. The wolf slowed briefly, then crept nearer. In the forest beyond, others, made bold by the first, were slinking closer. "I don't like this," Nate muttered. Shakespeare had risen. "They must be awful hungry." "Maybe they have a taste for horse flesh," Nate remarked, drawing his pistol. The metallic click of the hammer sounded eerily loud in the dreadful stillness. "Don't shoot unless you have no other choice," Shakespeare advised. "If you hurt one, the rest will be on us like crazed banshees." Stooping, he grabbed his rifle in one hand and the end of a burning branch in the other. "I'll try to scare 'em off. Be careful. Don't fret yourself. I don't intend to end my days in a wolf's belly." Shakespeare waved the firebrand in circles and strode purposefully toward the oncoming wolf. In the flaring radius of light, the beast became clearly visible. It was the apparent leader of the pack, an enormous male sporting a black mask and unusual white markings on its forelegs. The wolf crouched and retreated a few yards, glaring balefully at the firebrand over its shoulder. "You've got it on the run," Nate said. But as it developed the very next moment, he had spoken prematurely. Venting a guttural growl, the leader of the pack suddenly whirled and charged straight at the horse string, streaking across the ground so fast its hairy body was a virtual blur. Nate instantly fired. In his haste, he missed. The wolf was almost abreast of him, so he took a quick step to his left and slashed with his gleaming knife, causing the pack leader to veer wide. As it did, a rifle boomed and the wolf tumbled. Nate moved in, prepared to dispatch the creature before it could stand. A chorus of snarls stopped him in his tracks. The majority of the wolves were converging on the camp, their lips drawn back to expose their tapered teeth, their features alight with ferocity. Dropping the spent pistol, Nate drew his other flintlock, took a hurried bead on a large specimen, and fired, almost at the very same moment that Shakespeare fired a pistol. Two wolves crashed down, one to lie motionless, the other to rise again and limp off. At the twin blast, most of the wolves broke off their attack and bolted into the woods. The rest began to circle, seeking an opening. Nate wanted to reload, but feared being set upon while doing so. His Hawken was over by the fire, too far off. For if he ran to retrieve it, the poor horses would be unprotected. Instead, he shoved the second pistol under his belt and whipped out his Shoshone tomahawk. 3 wolves were still circling. One darted in close and then darted out into the darkness again, as if daring them to do something or testing their reactions. Backpedaling to the agitated horses, Nate tried to keep all 3 wolves in sight at once. A set of eyes disappeared off to his right. Expecting the beast to sneak through